Breaking news out of New Orleans this morning. Antonio Brown back on the field, working out for the Saints right now. The Saints are working out a group of receivers along with Brown, not just him. AB has not played since week 2, and the NFL has made it clear that if someone does sign the receiver, AB is likely headed to the commissioner's exempt list until that investigation is completed by the league. Sean Payton reportedly wanting an updated wide receivers list for the playoffs. Shannon, what do you make of this?
This makes no sense to me. Skip, this has to be a future move because the NFL made it abundantly clear that if you sign this guy, he's going to the commissioner's exempt list until we have resolution to the case at hand. He's not playing. The last thing, Skip, do you actually think the NFL want him anywhere near the Super Bowl in the 100th anniversary? Even if there wasn't, considering what's going on with him, until he has this case adjudicated, I don't see a scenario where Antonio Brown plays in the NFL again. Now, once that situation is resolved, all bets are off because he's still immensely talented. That's the only reason that the Saints brought him in, Skip. You think it was a guy that's dealing with what he's dealing with and given the circus-like atmosphere that he's engaged in the entire season of 2019, do you think if he was not as immensely talented as he was, this would even be a thought? Of course not. This makes no sense to me. Maybe this is for future. We signed him get a 2-year deal, Skip, and at least we own his rights. So when the case is resolved, we have his rights, and because we still believe he can play. It's not like he got, he basically took this year off. He played 1 game. So we'll have him next year at some point in time. But Skip, this makes no sense to me. Now, this is the 2nd year in a row that the Saints have brought a receiver in late in the season, worked him out. They signed Dez Bryant last year, but in his first practice, he tore his Achilles. But for me, this makes no sense. This makes no sense, Skip, given what the NFL has already said about this young man's situation, that he's probably more than likely, I believe there's a greater than 95% chance he would end up on the commissioner's exempt list. So you'll end up paying him for services he's not going to be able to render.
So to me, this is Sean Payton strikes again. Jen has spent a lot of time around the Saints. She knows Sean Payton very well. Sean Payton, to me, is a watch this coach. Like, watch what I'm about to do. And a lot of times it's in a good way. I'm not saying it critically. He's just, I'm going to do it this way.
Right.
I believe he is still angry with the league over the all-time awful non-call that cost him a Super Bowl last year, a berth in the Super Bowl.
And it cost him a year of coaching.
It did. No,
it did. The NFL came down on him twice.
Came down on him twice, is correct. And he just broke ranks because everybody else had sort of gone along with, okay, we'll honor this, we'll honor this. We will not force the league's hand. And he is about to, again, he's got to sign him.
Right.
And he's working out with the group of receivers, but he's Antonio Brown.
Correct. So he's the headliner.
I'm going to guess he's going to opt to try to sign him. I don't know what blowback he's going to get from the league behind closed doors. I don't know what his owner's going to say. I don't know what his GM's going to say. But right now, he's in control of this.
He got a lot of control down there.
And there is one key point to this, and I hope I'm explaining it correctly, but the way I understand it is if they do sign him, he will immediately, the league will have no choice but to put him on the commissioner exempt list. But that means the league has to pay him, not the team.
Right.
Okay, if I'm reading this correctly, the league is going to have to pay him out of the playoff pool of money.
Right.
Not the team.
Right.
So it won't be a burden on the Saints to pay him. Maybe he'll be put on ice by the league,
right.
but they won't have to bite the bullet of having to pay him for nothing.
Well, you're probably only going to sign him to a minimum contract. It's going to be, whatever it is, it's going to be prorated for 1 game if you sign him for this game, or it's going to just be a playoff portion anyway.
Okay, and I will remind everyone, in his final game as a Pittsburgh Steeler, Antonio Brown played at New Orleans and caught 14 balls for 185 yards. You don't think that's stuck in Sean Payton's psyche? You don't think he's envisioning all those catches all over his field?
You know what you're also envisioning in his psyche? The last game in Pittsburgh that was at home, Antonio Brown was not on the field. He was not even in the stadium.
Well, that's just the start of the trouble. Yeah, okay, I got you. And then if I deal with the sort of the hypothetical reality of this, all Sean Payton has is simply the best receiver in football on his team. And this is just me from a distance, I do not love the notion even of putting AB with Michael Thomas because we saw what happened when we tried Odell plus Jarvis with Baker, right?
Right.
It's just hard to keep two number ones, and they are clearly number ones. They're like two top 5 receivers, right? But it's hard to keep them happy.
The thing is, Skip, AB has never played for a coach that has this kind of control and this demanding. And Drew Brees is different than Big Ben. Big Ben tried to appease him. I read the article about some of the things how he would talk to Big Ben.
Did you read the one quote?
Yeah!
Did you read the music quote?
Yeah, I read that.
Where Ben had a kind of a no music rule in the locker room. And
well, first of all, you don't get to set no music rule.
Okay.
We decide as a team if it's going to be music or not.
But whatever. That's the way it was in that locker room. And he was obviously the veteran leader of the team.
Right.
And so he said no music, and AB cranked it.
Yeah.
And he said no, and AB said, F you, cracker?
Yeah.
What?
Well, he seemingly earned that same. Remember the GM?
To Mike Mayock. Okay, but this was Ben Roethlisberger. Would that not be a bridge burner? Would that not be a game over? I
think that was probably, Skip, the beginning of the end because, look, I understand you don't have to be best boys and we got to be buddies, but there got to be a healthy level of respect in that locker room now. There's going to be a level of respect. That's always been the case in every locker room I've been in.
Yeah, I'm with you. There should be a team vote about what the music is, but whatever. That was this rule in this locker room, and he went on that quarterback.
Right. Okay. And that's what kind of rubbed him. That was probably the start of it, is that we got 52 guys in this locker room, but one gets to set the rules. Why does he get to set the rules and not the coach? Why does he get to set the rule and not the higher-ups? How does a player, because, Skip, at the end of the day, regardless of your position, I view you as an equal. You're not my boss. You don't get to tell me to go and come and we got practice at this time or we're going to do this like that. That's the coach's job. That's the general manager, the owners. So he felt some type of way. He's like, hold on. I'm comparable. I'm as big a superstar at my position as Ben is at his. So it rubbed him the wrong way, Skip, that Ben had that kind of control.
I got it.
But still be the case, there has to be a level of respect. I mean, I couldn't even imagine, John said something. I'm like, nah,
no.
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 You wouldn't do it. You just wouldn't even think about it.
No.
You got to live with each other.
Yes.
You can't go there.
That's family.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain things like with your family, if you're married, you got a girlfriend, significant other, there are certain things that you can't say. We're in the same household.
There's a line you can't cross.
You cross.
Okay.
How we come in and we cool. Hey, bro, get out there, run this out route for me. I wish I might throw you out right after you just said what you said to me. But, Skip, for me, looking at this and at the NFL is issued, there'll be breaking news. New Orleans Saints signs Antonio Brown, breaking news. NFL puts Antonio Brown on commissioner. There'll be 2 breaking news stories.
Well, it has to. And we don't have time. We need 2 more hours on the show to go through the lengthy list of conduct unbecoming issues, and that's not to even mention sexual assault allegations.
Right.
2 of those.
Right. Once he gets that, Skip, I think that's the big issue. Get that resolved. But the NFL doesn't seem to be in a hurry to get that resolved this year. Maybe sometime March, April, or May of next year, this will get resolved, or the player's way have his day in court.
Yep.
And then the NFL's, okay, this is what happened. Okay, now we're going to step in. Because I still believe he's going to get suspended.
Well, he has to get suspended.
Yeah. It's like, I have a homeboy, he got suspended, Skip. He quit school. Well, you do realize the suspension doesn't start until you come to school. You got to be coming. So he just quit. He dropped out. He never he didn't get suspended. He ended up quitting school altogether. So, AB, even though you're not in the league, the NFL is going to have their say about what's going to happen to you moving forward. So for me, for Sean Payton doing this, Skip, maybe he's trying to somebody else might do this, and I'm just going to preempt someone else for having his services next year. But this makes no sense to me, considering that the NFL has already issued a statement that 90% chance, they didn't say that, but I believe it's a greater than 95% chance he's heading to that list. They're not going to allow him to play, Skip, the blowback that they're going to get with a situation like this, and it's been unresolved, and you're allowing him to play, and I don't see a scenario where he plays for the New Orleans Saints if they were to sign him.
now.
Yes.
Not now.
Yeah, yes.
Right.
Maybe in the future. Yeah, 2020 is a different story.
Maybe.
But for this season, the playoffs, no way.
And yet, I wondered, the story you talked about, the ESPN story, lengthy story, is a good, well-done piece.
Yes.
I believe it was by
Jeremy
Fowler. And it also pointed out that according to, is it his stepfather? I think it is. Didn't read it before this news broke, but I believe his stepfather said that he has sought some counseling. So, well, and again, we had James Harrison, who's been like a big brother to AB, sit right in this chair and say he needs to seek some help.
Yeah.
And you've been on that bandwagon, certainly.
The wave of emotions, that's not normal behavior. To have the range of emotions that he has. 1 minute he's not, and I've seen guys like this, Skip. One day they'll come in, hey, bro, how you doing, yada, yada, yada. And the next minute they're shut completely down and like, do I speak to him? And they written in the article, you got to walk on eggshells when you're around him. You don't know he was tearing up the coach's locker room the coach's office for no reason.
Okay.
But I said, Pittsburgh, look, and they say Mike Tomlin has a famous quote. He says, we'll tolerate you until we can replace you. It got to be so unbearable. And they said Mike Tomlin stood up in the meeting and said, we got a different set of rules for AB. He got to go and come pretty much as he pleased, waiting on him in meetings, waiting on him for practice. All you do is you're creating a behavior. Because guess what, Skip? The more 100-catch seasons, the more all-pros and Pro Bowls that he go to, the more emboldened you make him. It was uncontrollable. And then the moment that the Raiders tried to hold him accountable, he bucked. Get me out. I got to go. I want to go. Free me.
So what my point was, maybe Sean Payton read that article and thought, well, he has sought counseling. Maybe there's hope here. Maybe I'm catching him at the right time. And Sean's had some other troubled players that he's done well with.
Yeah, did you see what he say he sought counseling, but then he lashes out at his dad.
He did.
On Twitter, so it's what